You ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, look, I looked the guy dead in the eye and I said, this ice cream machine is never going to work. Anyway, all right, let's get started with this, Tom. We're here for Phin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I love doing sessions like this. I am sorry that we're recorded. We're pre-recorded today because we have other engagements, but we're here. We are actually here. We're in the comment section. So watch
Yeah,
this. I'm leaving a comment right now, hopefully.
exactly.
If
And
we don't
hopefully I'm
have
doing the
internet.
same. As long as I have internet. Where I'm traveling, there may be zones of not internet, and that's why we're doing it here, where we can do it nice and quality, but still participate.
Exactly. So, Tom, why don't we introduce ourselves to the audience in case folks don't know who we are? I know I've been a little away for a bit. So, who are you?
Tom here from Lawrence Systems. I say that in a lot of videos, apparently a few thousand that have been scattered around the YouTubes. I've been doing that for only since really 2017. Before that, running an IT services company that I started in 2003 and continue to run as part of a partnership when we merged with CNWR in 2023. So sometimes I say Tom here from CNWR. That is when I refer to the IT MSP side of the house, and Tom here from Lawrence Systems, and I refer to the YouTube side of the thing. And you are the illustrious
Illustrious or fantastic?
or fantastic. Ooh,
The fantastic
fantastic
Mr. Fox.
Mr. Fox. Can we say fantastic Mr. Fox without a trademark
I don't
problem?
know. I'll go call George Clooney and make sure it's okay before we do any edits on this. But hi, I'm Matt from Lawrence Systems. I've actually been working with MSPs in one way or another since 2005, from the IT management side to marketing to what I do at Lawrence Systems today, which is a little bit of everything, including making shirts. Tom, just go up a little bit for a second. Just raise up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hey, that's
Oh
a
yeah,
nice
yeah.
looking shirt.
This is not just a shirt. This is art. We like cabling and things like that. So if it's a little low res, head over to shop.lawrencesystems.com, because we got to promote ourselves a little bit too, right?
That's how it works. But more importantly, let's talk about why we're here today. The team at
Yes.
Phin are friends of ours. We've known them for many years. I know that we've both used their software, either as an end
Yes.
user or as one that's rolling it out to clients. And we're here at the Deep Cyber Dive 2024 to talk about using social media to grow your MSP. Now, there's a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Please go
I
on.
just want to I just want to say that it is one of those things that not everybody gets right. It takes a little nuance to do it, but that's what we're here to help bring you through that journey of understanding social media. Now, granted, I use YouTube, but I'm not gatekeeping at all. I absolutely think if you want to create a YouTube channel, reach out to me. I'm giving lots of people tips, and sometimes those tips are overwhelming to people. It's a lot to create a channel. We're going to talk about everything else we do, though, about social media. So even though I mentioned YouTube at the beginning, this is really about talking about how we're going to build relationships with people or social media, create engaging content. So that's what me and Matt are here to bring you today.
We're going to bring that. And there's one thing we're not going to bring you today, and that is a long list of tools. You guys already have enough to worry about with your stack and everything else. And guess what? Google is an amazing resource. Just top tools for social media management. Boom, we're done. And that's
Yeah.
why we're not going to talk about it today. There are so many more important things. And I'll tell you what, and Tom, please feel free to agree with me strongly on this or disagree. It's
Yeah.
fine, whatever. But
Well, yeah, I think pretty much like things like HubSpot are going to be a natural. So there's a lot of them that are going to be common tools that you may use in social media, and then the nuance of which one actually does the post. I mean, cool. There's some that are better than others, but they actually have changed so much over the years. And you may be watching this video in the future where the one I just mentioned sucks. So
mhm.
we're talking about how to use those tools and what is the social process essentially, because once you have a process around it, you start realizing the tooling doesn't matter as much. I mean, we all want a good tool, but if that ever changes, as long as your process is documented and how you do it, or you understand how to do those connections via social media, that's the most important key thing you have to get right first.
That was beautiful. I almost thought you were talking about a PSA for a second, but it is the
Oh,
same idea. It's the same exact
isn't it though?
idea.
Yeah, this may be familiar language. You may have heard this about insert name of any tool in between, except for Finn. They're awesome. No one does better than them. So, all
Yep.
right.
I have fallen for some of Finn's. I guess there would be like social media kind of like test emails. I may have
Yeah,
clicked on an Applebee's gift card offer once or twice. It happens.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like Applebee's.
We've all
Anyway,
we've all clicked on the Finn one of these. It happens.
right? So, okay, look, we love working with technology. That's obvious. Talking too much about technology can sometimes serve as a distraction for us. So let's get away from that completely for a moment and just jump into a bit of a success story. Because personally, I like hearing the good that happens through social media because it gets me excited to find ways to use it. Hearing about tools, hearing about processes, best practices, lists, white papers, documents. We don't need that right now. What we need to know is hear a little bit of real results that have happened from efforts on social media with regards to growing an MSP. Tom, do you have a story that you'd like to share? Is there a particular instance? I'm sure you've got at least one or two.
One of the really interesting ones, and this leans into some of the cabling and infrastructure we do, which is easier to do on social media. And the reason I say that is because people like to see the visual of, the cables being art and things like that. But actually, the photo that won us a pretty big contract was interesting because I was holding a ladder and just make sure employees didn't fall down. And I was there on site and I seen them going up. I'm like, here, just let me hold ladder. And it was kind of a funny picture. I just put one foot on a ladder, took a picture of me standing there and pointing at the switch that was, the rack that was up top, because it was in a warehouse. But just posting a couple pictures like, hey, just checking the wires and some jokes about it. And it's kind of those things that where someone goes, hey, you do that wiring thing. And that was what someone replied to that post, happened to be on Facebook. And I said, yes, we do. We wire lots of things. And she goes, my brother needs some wiring help. And I said, great. That sounds great. And ended up a phone call. This is someone I knew from the Chamber of Commerce. So I had a personal connection already. And she just didn't know we did any cabling. Turns out her brother owned 6 Chrysler dealerships. And so we wired all 6 of her brothers. His wiring project turned into just under $1 million worth of business from a social media. She just didn't know we did that. And obviously our website says we do cabling and infrastructure, but by being more social about it, just posting a little bit, me taking a selfie next to some wires and little things like that, and being relatable and connecting with the people on that to showcase what you do. And it can pivot, and we'll talk about other examples as we go here,
Mhm.
because it can be things like you just talking about, hey, this is how you solve this little problem. And, in the bigger scale, yes, that's what I do on my YouTube channel, but you can also do this at the small scale and offer people the things you're actually looking for. You don't want to showcase yourself. I think that's the important part when you're thinking about that. I'm not showcasing, look at how amazing our wire is. I mean, sometimes I will post pictures of that, but if you think about it from the perspective of how can I make this useful? What would be a tip I could put in here that would be actionable or something they're looking for, and showing them how to do it? These are kind of the more relatable social posts that bring things on there. How about you, Matt? You've done a few things like that before, maybe even built quite a following around that.
I've had a couple of things happen with regards to MSPs that I don't think I'll ever forget. For example, when I was at Valiant Technology, an MSP in New York City, we used to run a live stream every Thursday. We did it for about 3 years straight. And that takes commitment, which is something that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But there was this one live stream that we did that was focused on compliance for small businesses. It was an introduction to compliance. It was nothing going too far deep into any topic. And we pushed that over social media. And I think I was having one of those days where I had a little too much coffee in the morning and I was a little over enthusiastic compared to others. And the post just landed so beautifully across social media that we had a large PR company, which is one of the verticals that we would target at the time, reach out to us and go, we saw this live stream you guys did. You got the president, you've got this marketing guy that's all over the place. You have some of your service team on it. We see your personalities. We see your understanding of technology, especially with regards to the kinds of problems that we face, and we want to have a conversation. That became a client. That company became a client within 2 weeks. They were onboarded. And that all came from just a very, very, very well written and well placed social media post that pushed people to a piece of content that had legitimate value to it. It got them excited. And that you don't see things like that happen often. They're difficult to do. But again, talking about tools is not how you do that. Talking about what your intentions and your goals is.
And just like how you're watching me and Matt, when you can incorporate a little bit of video, and I see people have a lot of success with LinkedIn is probably more popular today than Facebook was several years ago, but it's the bringing the personal side to it. And sharing some of your thoughts. And I don't mean getting way off topic outside of tech, but just generally being on there and showing who you are. And the reason I bring that up is because when you start looking at websites, and one of the things that we've learned as you start looking around at all the websites here in 2024, especially compared to the way they used to, lots of people had bad websites. The bar's been raised a lot. A lot of people have a pretty decent website. There's nice templates out there. Matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
you start realizing how templated
Everything
IT
is.
service websites are. And you're like, well, they all look the same. And you got to think about that from the customer's perspective, then put
Mm.
their head on. They're like, well, they went to 6 different companies in the area and they all have a pretty nice website. what is the next step that distinguished them? Because every one of them said, we're amazing. Every one of them said, we have an award or something, because everyone puts that on their website. But if you put on a little bit more personal and you take the time to put a video on there, they go, oh, that seems like a nice, relatable person. It doesn't have to be the
Mm-hmm.
CEO of the
Mm-hmm.
company. It can be a salesperson. It can be anything to make that a little bit more personal. This is part of that building that connection with people that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And look, I have a great quick story of building a really great connection with a client over a number of years that, again, the client connection began on social media and answering some questions of theirs. This is when I was at the same MSP I was talking about. I was with 3 or 4 coworkers on 6th Avenue walking to our favorite place to get a chicken sandwich. I mean, this is the place we go to like once a week. Everyone was happy, excited. And out of nowhere, a man that's got to be about 6'4" and 350 pounds of muscle gave me a bear hug. And all of my team members posted up like they were about to have a fight with someone. They did not know what was going on. And I'm flailing. I'm literally flailing like this. I'm a foot and a half off the ground. I'm not a small guy, you know? And I'm like, stop it, stop it. And they're kind of grabbing at him and he drops me. And I go, hey guys, this is Ralph. He's one of our clients. And he was just so happy to see me walking down the street and say hi because of the connection that we had built and formed and the way that he got pulled into the services that we offered and all the great benefits that happened. He was so incredibly happy. He didn't think about a single thing. He saw me and just wanted to give me a bear hug. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to happen to everybody, but that's a pretty cool result from being able to post something, like you said, with a bit of a personal touch and be able to address people and not just a large one-to-many kind of way.
Yeah, and some little personal things you can do. As much as I think a phone call is really important, and we try to make as many as we can in the sales side of things when you're trying to connect with people. One other thing that I thought was actually pretty clever that a friend of mine did. First, he copied me quite a bit, and I thought this was wonderful. He has an insurance company, and he copied some of the different social media things he did, but then he went a step further that I thought was like the extra icing on the cake. When I say copy me, he literally has the same phone greeting I do. And by the way, you can feel free to call CNWR if that greeting still exists. We carried it over from Lawrence Systems over there. But what's more important, and where this becomes an action item if you're looking for something to, step it up a little bit, was he took his insurance company and I believe he said he almost quadrupled it over a couple of years, and he owes a lot of it to. He would grab his phone and he would do this. Hey, here's your
Mhm.
quote for your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance, and here's the numbers right here at the top. Here's your bottom line. The details are in that link I sent you. Have a great day. I'm talking 10-second videos. And it was kind of nice because he's like, hey, Nick, here, that quote you asked for, it's going to be this much per month, but the details for everything that's covered is in the quote. Go ahead and click it. Thanks. Boom. He didn't even leave a phone call for me. He didn't need to now. There's a picture of him. He just did a cell phone, all of them, which actually made it very personal. And I like that. He didn't, I mean, I'm sitting in a whole studio setup, and there's advantages if you want to deal with studio, but he does it at his desk. Nothing special. Just holds his phone, says, hey, here's your quote. And he has all of his staff doing that too. And that's how you get your quote from them. And he's known for it. It's kind of like, yeah, it's personal. And some people just kind of like that extra personal touch because every insurance person will email you a quote, but will they, send you a quick little video clip in the email. Those little things matter a lot, and they can really boost it for your engagement level you have with your clients because they might want to watch a video you take and personalize it. And I've
Mhm.
seen people do this on LinkedIn where they send me a personalized video when they connect with me, which I think is actually quite nice. And please don't tell me that you've seen this AI tool that does it, because talk about deadpan
And
reads.
it
Maybe
has to
they'll
be
get
real.
better in the future, but I have yet to see one because I see there's like one where you can program what it says and it uses your voice. Yeah,
Yeah.
people can tell. And now you've back to the whole low effort. The fact that it took a little more effort to do it is something that people are thinking about. It's not just the content, it's the context of the people knowing it took a little more effort to engage with them, and that you took the time to do that. You learned something about them. More than their name, I hope, that you've included in there. And if it's not an insurance code, it's like, hey, this is how we can, help you, or, how do we solve this problem? And, or asking them, what are your problems, and be interactive, and they may like that a little better. And I'm going to tell you, it goes a long way. And not a lot of people are doing it right now.
You know who used to do it?
Hmm.
Pepperidge Farm. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Insert meme.
But for real, that's the little final. Those are the finishing touches on means of communication to get a response from people. Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah.
can pick up a phone, you can do whatever you want, but you have to go that extra mile and just make it clear that you're talking to them with intent. They're not just a number or a name on a list. They're an individual that you're interested in because they have a company that fits exactly what you're trying to do, and you can see bringing them benefits at the same time. Oh, hold on one second. I'm getting the call. Buy, sell. I think the statute of limitations on swiping this off of a Bell Atlantic truck have gone up. So I figured, why not? Let's let the world
We'll go
know.
with that.
Um, See, now the reason I just had like this little moment with the butt set here is that now I want to talk about some of things that maybe we do wrong. Sometimes things fall flat.
Yes.
And I want to talk about some of the common ones that I've encountered over the years that I've helped other people with, maybe some of the ones that you've encountered too. Because to me, being able to address issues that people may run into is smoothing out the speed bumps in the parking lot. You know, you're not going to keep hitting them like you're going to Home Depot. No one likes that. So let's smooth it out a little bit. And I think the number one item for our audience, and I say for our audience because we're included in the audience, is over tooling. Over tooling. We mentioned it a little while ago. In fact, in the notes, it says, leave that for your stack, bro, because it's true. You know, it's an area that's easy for us to obsess on because we love technology. Would you, I mean, I'm just looking at what you've got behind you, and it's clear that there are a lot of distractions behind you. I've got all of my distractions all over here as well. And
Yeah.
that's
There's
something that
distractions all around me.
it's, I mean, I've got switches, everything you could possibly imagine within, arm's reach. And they can sometimes be distractions in the day. And we need to control that. And the same thing happens with the tools that we put in front of ourselves to accomplish something like a social media plan, management, execution, what have you. So let's keep that as easy as possible. You mentioned HubSpot earlier. HubSpot is an amazing tool if you have the budget and the reason to use the rest of the functionality. Social media is a small component to a much larger platform in that situation. You
Yeah.
want to get started quickly? Just go to Buffer, open a Buffer account, and get started. That's it.
That's it. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need all the other tools. And posting a lot of stuff manually is not that hard because in before Matt came on board to help me with some of the social media stuff, that only happened this year. And prior to that, everything was essentially very simple, just several posts to LinkedIn, some videos, not overthinking it. And one thing that's really helpful is, and I know we didn't want to get too tool heavy, but I don't know where ChatGPT falls as a tool, whether it's ChatGPT or Google's Gemini or whatever one you have access to. One of the things that can be very helpful for is going, hey, write me a quick social media post for LinkedIn. These are the things I want to express. Keep it to 5 sentences. Keep it to 4 sentences. Use emojis where you feel appropriate. A little bit of prompt engineering, you can have a pretty easy post. It becomes a lot simpler. Come up with the idea you want to convey, have them massage it, and just copy and paste it in. You don't need to build out. People want to build out these giant automation pipelines with it. I'm like, it's a few minutes. I mean, I timed myself this morning because I did a post like that. My post was a meme combined with a simple LinkedIn post about cybersecurity awareness because it's October here and I'm
Gift
going to be
cards.
aware. Yeah. And so just a real quick then copy paste. I didn't like 2 of the words in it, deleted them out. So I still filtered it to make sure it was my voice because I didn't like the word doozy in there. It says
Yeah.
we have a doozy of a thing. No, why did it say that? I don't use those words. So I just changed out some words, pasted in there. You're talking from the time I had the idea to the time it was posted on LinkedIn was 9 minutes. That was it.
That's a cup of coffee.
Yeah. And the post has some engagement. Same with the one yesterday, took a even fewer minutes snap because just an easy meme.
Yeah. And I think that if you were talking over tooling, keeping things simple, which I think I'm sure we've all, as IT people, that's probably one of the first things we heard from a manager at some point. Keep it simple, stupid. Or is
Yeah.
that just me? Did I just make myself feel really bad? No, that's something we all hear. And it's important to remember that. 25 years ago is important. Today is important. It's going to be important years from now. Keep things simpler. Simple. The fewer moving parts a machine has, the fewer points of failure it has. Don't build points of failure for yourself. Also,
No, we
with that
have
said,
complicated things to manage in the IT services. Managing a bunch of automation tools and build pipelines, that's what we do for our normal
for
day, and we know
mission
the challenges
critical
that come with
items.
it. Yeah, so adding it to your social media, it's more about being
Yeah.
personal. Kind of coming back to the mechanics of what to actually post. Sometimes you want to ask a question in there. Hey, how would you handle this? Which that's going to help drive engagement. Create the scenario, create the situation, and a lot of times I'm pulling these from real world problems. My
Mhm.
meme the other day I posted, which will be about a week ago when you're watching this, was about the companies that do take the time to have a much better security posture, but then find out, and we're looking at you, I believe Samsung had this incident, their employees were dumping a bunch of things in the AI prompts. information that shouldn't have been there, proprietary company information.
Spreadsheets needing
Spreadsheet.
reports? Was
Yeah,
it?
and it's one of those things. This is thought provoking. Hopefully, someone
Mhm.
when you watch it's got a lot of engagements because people go, "Huh, I wonder if I do have a policy with my people." And lead those questions. Is this something you have addressed in your company? You don't have
Mhm.
to say that you'll help them with it. You don't have to say, "Hey, I'm your hero. If you haven't addressed this, call me. I'm the hero."
But
That
ask how it's
is a little
impacted
bit.
them. It's
Yeah,
about
just ask.
impact.
Yeah, about impact. And so you do some of the mechanics of those posts and you're thinking about how do I do it? They know you posted it. They'll probably assume, let them draw the conclusion that you must know something about it. You don't need to put a call to action in there that says, call me now and I will fix the problem you're having. That is kind of the older marketing. And I think that doesn't play as well on social media. And the reason why is because if I were to walk up to someone at an event, I'm at a business event, hey, how are you doing? Hey, did you hear about that latest AI thing? You go, oh man, that was really, a big problem. And then you go, guess what I can do? I can service that for you. Is that how you would do that in person? Maybe you would. And maybe you're not the most liked person at parties.
Maybe that's why you're watching this. I don't know.
Yeah, but let's just say that's probably not how you'd approach it in person, or at least I hope that's not how you'd approach it in person. If you think of social media just as an extension of yourself like that, and then your posts are a little bit more genuine and be concerned, be engaged. How would you handle this? And ask those people those questions. And you can feel free to lead them and say, hey, I've helped people with this before. That can be a comment down there because maybe they're asking, how do I deal with this? Well,
Mhm.
now they've asked you the question. Now you're prepared to answer. It's how you kind of bring them along the journey. Start with some education, some question, and bring them along. And that's why me and Matt want to bring here some of that, mechanics of what to actually post, not just the tooling. So we mentioned some tools, but thinking about how you do those posts and how you architect them for engagement, that's really important.
That's like 80% of the effort right there. The tools are like the 20%. That's a good way of looking at this. And
Because blank page syndrome is hard.
that's the worst.
Now what? What
Well,
goes in buffer?
you know, I just want to briefly mention this came up and I was reading an article the other night, but Goodhart's Law. You can make things too efficient. You can bring things to the point where you've built too many efficiencies in, and then everything just kind of sucks. There's probably better ways to articulate that, but at the end of the day, that is often what happens. Don't go wild with process on this. So you just heard Tom say that before I came here. And by the way, I think my title is going to be VP of Complications. I like that. That's got a nice ring to it.
There we go.
But beforehand, Tom was doing everything manually, and that works perfectly. I've worked on things manually before. I've worked on gigantic automated systems as well. It depends on the size of the audience. But let's be very real here. We're not looking at gigantic audiences for who we're targeting here. We're typically targeting within a specific service area, particular industries or business sizes or types. Um, when I was using some of the larger management tools that I'm accustomed to, it was for millions of people being reached for like magazines, fashion and beauty magazines. A very different arena, but a lot of it scales down nicely. And one thing that scales down to almost like not being needed are most of the automation tools that get discussed day to day. And I think that's really what I wanted to say there. Now, planning, you always have to have a plan.
Yeah.
I said that the keep it simple stupid thing. The same person that I answered to, as the first CIO I've answered to, used to tell me, what is it? Poor planning leads to. Hold on, we got to start that one over. Goodness, Gary, what is it that used to say? Poor planning leads to poor performance, or whatever it was. He had his own version with a lot more P's to it, is what I'm getting at. And he's absolutely right. If you go into something without a plan, you have a higher likelihood of it not going the way you want, not having the outcome that you want. And I call that the Leroy Jenkins methodology, because I think a lot of us can connect with who Leroy Jenkins is. Tom, would you agree? The Leroy Jenkins methodology is not what
I
we
think we're
want.
still hitting the age demographic here that knows what that is. And granted, my son, because he's in video games and 18, he does know the reference. I think the reference has lived on a little, but it's fading a bit here. So probably it's an important thing when you're thinking about your target audiences when you post on social media is, will they get the joke? We have plenty of inside tech jokes. Are you targeting a techer audience? Or are you targeting your clients who may be less technical? And that's what you're here to service them for. So always make sure you have some of that context when you're thinking about who, just because you find it funny, will they find it funny? Will they find it engaging? Will they find it helpful? Those are really think about who your target audience is.
You totally just finished my sandwich
Oh,
sentence. Sorry about that. But yeah, but that's exactly what I'm getting at. Sometimes we jump into things too quickly. It's like, hey, we got posts, we got ideas, we want engagement. Leroy Jenkins. And we go in there and everyone's like, oh God, no, not again. That's something that happens quite often if you don't have a plan, if you don't address the right audience. How do you know who your right audience is? That's another question I think has to be asked quite often, and that's part of a marketing strategy. So it's a little bit out of scope for here, but if you want to be able to use social media to reach new markets, to increase, what you have to work with right now with prospects, do you know if you're successfully connecting with the right audience? And how do you figure that out?
Ooh, that can be tricky. I mean, it comes down to, and like I said, a little off scope of this, but ICP or ideal client profile.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the audiences you're targeting and figure out where they are. Right now, it's tough because I'm not going to lie, and we all are aware of this here in 2024. There's a lot of people who have left social media because it's essentially made our discourse more coarse. So there's a lot of exits I've seen from Facebook. It doesn't seem to be near as effective as it was. It's not ineffective. It's just not where it used to be, 5, 6 or
Mm-hmm.
more years ago. Here in 2024, LinkedIn is probably a good place. And there is at least a decent number of our clients that are on LinkedIn. They may not engage every day, kind of depends on what they're looking for, if they're looking to engage with people, and trying to figure out some of those is a little tough. Oddly, what's come back really strong is like mailing lists, and you can still do these. I still look at that as a social media,
Mm-hmm.
having people sending them the drip campaigns and saying, hey, these are some things you might want to know about us. These are things that are good to do. Just be careful, because please don't spam people. That's always the tough line to ride right there.
Absolutely. And I've got one thing that I'll add in that's it's not secret sauce. I think it becomes common sense when you think about how social media works. And I've brought this up to a couple of MSPs in the past, and they've put a few dollars behind advertising, but this is not an advertising technique. It's just about timing of when you're going to post content. We know that in the morning is a pretty good time. I like between 10 and 11 tends to work for me on something like LinkedIn. But when it comes to hitting people on the weekends, because you love staying top of mind, right? That's when you post a little something on Facebook. Go to where they are at that particular time.
Yes.
Facebook does not have the same returns it used to, but you're going to find a better response and return on Facebook when you post at times when you expect people to actually be visible on the network and looking. And Saturday and Sunday is a better time to do that. And honestly, if you're putting out content that has value, if you're asking the right questions that are creating dialogues like Tom was just explaining, you're going to get a decent response on the weekend. I've seen it happen with a number of MSPs over the years. And as recently as 3 months ago, this is not outdated whatsoever.
Yeah, and it can go back and forth because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people know me, not just from my page about my company, but they know me personally. So when I say
Mm-hmm.
posting on Facebook, I don't mean just posting as a company. And I think Facebook still has a reasonable price for pushing ads and things like that on there. I haven't looked at it lately because I haven't bought any Facebook ads,
Good
but I
on you,
think
Tom.
their price was always reasonable compared to Google clicks. Those cost a lot more. They generally are bid up a lot higher for some of the tech space. I'm not going to get into the efficacy of those because I feel like Google's not where they used to be. I think everyone kind of feels that
Look,
way.
let's just put a
Back over,
statement out there, not to interrupt, but I did ad trafficking for 6 years for
yeah,
paid ads. I will never do that in this industry because it is not needed.
yeah.
Period.
It is not like it used to be. There was a time and a place for it, and I believe that is pretty much not where it's at today.
Mm-hmm.
Back over to being personable on there. I don't post as much, but especially when I was doing a lot more directly of the business stuff, where I was building those relationships as part of my role because sales before I merged with CNWR. I did a lot of the sales for the company, and I would try to make sure I was involved in some way in sharing some of these things and
Mm-hmm.
having some of those interactions with people directly on Facebook, directly on LinkedIn. Those are just ways you connect with people. And this I still think it's when I go to some of the events, people want to share the screen and do the LinkedIn sharing. It's still pretty relevant.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, one other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I like that this conversation is a little circular. It's cyclical
Yeah.
if you look at it. It's not linear. And I don't think things like this should be linear because there's so many different pieces and bits and things that we need to talk about. Um, where do we find the right information to share with our audience? That's a good one. And I've got a couple of ideas on that I want to share from when I worked at
Throw them out
Valiant.
there.
So when I was at Valiant, we had a handful of different verticals. And one of them, which we eventually eliminated, was architectural clients. They're a very interesting group of folks to work with. A lot of budgetary restraints is one thing that we found. And having conversations or sparking conversations can be a little bit difficult. They were the most difficult uh, target that we had out of the 3 or 4 verticals that we were working with at the time. So the solution to that was to jump into their world. That's something that anyone that's doing social media posts targeting a particular industry or vertical should be doing on a regular basis. Find out what they look at. If you wake up in the morning and you go to, I don't know, like channel E to E or the Lawrence Systems YouTube channel, which is an excellent place to visit whenever you can, you're pulling information that's going to help you with conversations throughout the day, maybe meetings with peers, vendors, whatever it is. Do the same thing. Figure out what their trade rags are. Look for any types of industry magazines, industry sites, hangouts where you're going to understand what they care about day to day. What are the pains that they face in their industry? What are the goals? What are, I don't know, maybe forms of regulation they're going to be facing? Get into that because that's where the gold is. Like we've said the entire time, you have to be personal. You have to connect on a level that they're going to respond to, and that's going to be by addressing their pains, but not in a generic way. It's not, hey, you need multi-factor authentication. Yeah, they can hear that everywhere. I can get a
Right.
decent burger everywhere too. I don't care about that, neither do they. But if you're working with an architectural group and maybe they would love to hear, I'm not trying to be polarizing here, but like VDI solutions or something. I'm just picking something randomly, okay? And you know that there's this specific software that they're using that's very, very much tied to their industry, other people aren't going to be aware of, and you can spark up a conversation on that. They're going to want to sit down and have lunch with you. Trust me. It happens so many times in the past, and it's from understanding what their real pains are. Not what you think their pains are, but the pains that other people that have potentially decades of experience doing what they're doing are writing about. That is gold.
Yeah, and the other way to target verticals is because you service a specific vertical, you truly understand after a while, whether it's
Their needs.
accounting or dental, you'll understand the pain of updating accounting software if you happen to do a bunch of tax places, for
Line
example,
of
or
business. Line of
yeah.
business.
You start once you support one of these line of business apps for one of the verticals, be sure to post about that you're able to do that. That's not something everyone does as an MSP, but it's one of those leveling up if you are good at it. And this is often why an MSP will stay with someone who specializes in a vertical, is because you're not just telling them to support their line of business software themselves. You're saying, hey, we can support it, but if you can show expertise on it, this is also, hey, we're aware of the latest problem with insert name of software. These are the remediation steps. And they go, wow, this person know about the software that is using, that we use every day. So this can be very helpful. Thinking about those are also opportunities for social media posts where you can target the vertical markets that you specialize in. And it lets people know clearly they're aware of Drake tax software or
Well,
Dentrix or whatever those things are,
exactly.
whatever. And they're memorable because of the problems we've had with those
Yeah.
softwares.
If you're addressing like a nonprofit vertical, maybe you talk about Blackbaud software, Razor's Edge, Financial Edge, all those things. And as soon as you start mentioning that, they're going to realize that you're talking their language. And that
Right.
goes very, very far. Now, once you're talking someone's language, it may be exciting to really get into conversations with them, right? Strike up opportunities because each post can be an opportunity for growth. But that's something you're going to have to keep in check a little bit because you're always going to want to place quality over quantity. Quality always has to come first. And how do you do that? By setting realistic goals for yourself, setting a realistic pace. Give yourself a little bit of leeway to get started. Let yourself fall into a pattern that becomes a habit that you don't even think about anymore. Maybe try posting 2 times a week for a couple of weeks. Move it up to 3. Eventually, you're going to be posting every day because you're probably going to be enjoying the process because you're not putting yourself up against a goal that you don't feel like you can handle when you have 8 other things to do to manage your business. Would you agree with that, Tom? I mean, I think it's pretty easy to go overkill, and all of a sudden you're dispensing information, but the quality of the information gets very low, and it goes from being information to just noise. And once you hear noise, you ignore it. That's what we do. We're humans.
Yep. Yeah, just figure out that right cadence for you and have some success at it. It's not something that's on day one, that's for sure. This takes years in the making. I've been using social media since MySpace, and I'll admit to among my failures has been I taught a class on Google Groups or Google. What was it called? It was not Group.
Hangouts, Wave, Google. Was it Wave? Yeah,
What,
Wave or something
remember
like
the
that, wasn't it?
social media platform?
Yeah, wasn't it called Google Wave or something? Was that what it is?
Oh no.
Hold on.
Ah,
I have a computer in front of me. I'm going to do a search. Google Plus, was it? No. Yeah, it was Google
Google
Plus.
Plus.
Circles. Circles.
Circles with
Yes.
Google Plus. Yeah,
There we
I'll
go.
I'll admit that even so I've been doing this a long time, and maybe I was too bullish thinking they would replace Facebook. Maybe I even said that once in a class. I was wrong. I was so wrong. But it's okay. Part of the journey is getting a few things wrong until we get there to where we can get it right.
I couldn't have said it any better. Now,
All right.
let's say we were almost done here. I think we've
Okay.
covered a lot of things that I don't think get talked about often enough. I've had a really great time with this conversation. I think we're going to do this again, but I have one last item to talk about. It's not an easy one to go over. I think it's one that we all encounter in our lives, especially when we start realizing success in an area that we may be not terribly experienced at. And that's keeping the ego in check. Because an unwieldy ego can be arsenic on social media. Was that too extreme, arsenic? Ricin?
Yeah.
Anthrax?
One of those.
The bubonic.
Toxic. We'll just say toxic. We'll just blanket all of them together.
It's not good. It's just not good. That's what we're going to do. And I think that there are just a couple of rules that help keep you in check with that stuff, because honestly, it happens to everybody a little bit. We love showing off. We love showing solutions and how we help people. And maybe we just over index on it a little bit. So you know what you got to do? Don't talk about yourself. Talk about the efficacy of your solutions. Talk about the
Yes.
impact they have on the people that you work with. The people, and when I say people you work with, I mean your clients and the people to the left and right of you in a Zoom call. You know, the physical thing doesn't work so much anymore. And talk about them, showcase them and the great things that the great benefits that they bring, but never talk about yourself. That's like rule number one to me. Focus on solving pains. Again, showcase your team members. If you have a milestone happening, give them a little bit of shine, but make sure they're comfortable with it first. That's the most important part there. You don't want to upset anybody. And most importantly, don't talk about yourself. Trust me, bro. Man, that was good.
Absolutely.
And for the record, I mean, you see us going back and forth right here, right? This is not your average presentation because it doesn't feel right if it is. And I think the natural interactions you're seeing between Tom and I are exactly what you want to be able to have happen on social media as well. You keep things
Absolutely.
natural, you keep them real, you take it seriously, but enjoy yourself. Because if you're not enjoying yourself, that's going to come through in your content and no one's going to want to work with you. Was that
We'll
too
leave you with
blunt?
that. No, I think that's good. That's a good place to leave off on. Bring some
Yeah.
enthusiasm. Bring your full self to it. Bring some enthusiasm to it. It just makes it a lot easier.
Bring your best self, bring your best intentions, and maybe wear a nice t-shirt. What's that shirt you got on again, Tom? Not
Yeah,
just, it's art. That's
it's
right.
art.
Shameless plugs. Can't get enough of those. But I think that's what we have for today. Again, we didn't talk about tools and process and the top this and the
Just
top
a little
that.
bit. Just a little bit about them. Just some suggestions.
All right,
Keep you going in the right direction.
we salt bait it a little bit. But realistically, what we talked about today is at the core of what we care about and the core of the actions that we've taken on social media that have led to the success of the MSPs that we've either owned or have worked for over the years, as well as peers in the space that we love working with. So, with that said, is there anything else you'd like to leave before I hit end recording and get to editing?
Nope, I got nothing else to add.
Oh wait, Tom,
That's
duck real quick.
reach out.
We're
Well,
gonna edit something in.
oh.
Just just scream bees.
we're, we're easy to
Bees.
reach out to. Yeah, we're easy to reach out to. We'll add that right there. If you have questions about this or comments, concerns, all those fun things. I do like interacting with people. I'm not right about everything. Insert Google Plus reference. And just, I thought I was right, but nonetheless, it's all about keep moving forward and go from there.
That sounds about right. Keep moving
That's the line.
forward. You now have a starting point. And if you need us, you know how to find us. We're visible. We're in places. We're on social media. And with that said, I will see you soon.
Thanks.
Open up the floor for Q&A, and I definitely have some questions for Matt after that great session. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm good, Jamie. Can you hear me?
I can. It's great
Jamie,
to see
can you
you.
hear me? Jamie, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I just wanted to check and ask like 8 times. I heard you.
Great. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here back at the house after some travel. Unfortunately, Tom is not available to join us. He's at Wild West Hacking Fest, and there's no bandwidth. It's just nothing leaving the compound or whatever. So we're having a little trouble there, but you got me, and that's not half bad.
That's totally okay. I'm sure you can more than answer these questions. And I have a few to start us off, and we'll see if anyone else jumps in here to ask some questions around social media.
Go for it.
So my first one is, how important is quality? For instance, like video, is the setup, is a studio, is all of that important? I know you guys touched on that a little bit in the video, in your session, but why don't you dive into quality a little bit? Because I think that's one area that a lot of non-media people, they see people in their channels, in their feeds and stuff like that. Like, oh my gosh, they have these like great lighting and mics and cameras. I could never, like, I can't start doing that because I'm going to look terrible. So what would you recommend when it comes to how important is quality?
All right, great lighting, cameras, alternate views. Look at that. That's the back of my head. All this stuff doesn't matter. Pick up your cell phone and do a recording, because the quality, the visual quality is one thing. I'm talking about quality of the information you're delivering over quantity. If you put together tons of videos on a cell phone, a low quality camera, whatever it is, as long as the message makes sense, as long as the message has value and gets someone to maybe ask a question or it sparks them with a little bit of enthusiasm to get something done, you've won. It doesn't have to be the Canon behind me. It doesn't have to be these fancy 2K cameras that actually look really bad without a lot of light. I'm just noticing that now. It could be anything. Anything at all. It could be the old Motorola Razr that's sitting in someone's desk along with the, cables that they're supposed to have after 30 years of being an IT person. It's totally cool. As long as your message itself has value, could care less about the quality of the video. Except for today, when you were watching Tom and I, that had to be perfect. But realistically, the lower quality video screams that you're being genuine. It says you're not going to sit here and worry about makeup and background and how many books I have behind me or how awesome of a golf case I have. Dude, that thing's awesome, by the way. It was really nice.
I appreciate that.
But those are nice to have. Those are frills. But as long as you have your face on camera, people know who you are, and you have a message that's worthwhile, you're good.
Love that. And what would you say are some, or what is a common mistake that MSPs make when trying to get into social media? Or if they're already on social media, what mistakes are you seeing that they typically make?
There are two things I see most often, and they're things I've been guilty of and have had to have corrections. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but the MSP I worked at, one of the verticals we had was PR and marketing firms. So they were always very, very, very willing to give me critical feedback on things, which is awesome. But two things is, one, don't overload your audience with information. Don't feel like you have to post multiple times a day, many, many times a week, once a day. Do when you feel is appropriate. Start a couple times a week or whatever it is. Let people get eased into what you're doing. Don't send them a tidal wave of information, because that's the easiest kind of information to just ignore. There's too much of it. When you're overloaded, you shut down. And that's what happens with social media. The other part is, don't be overly technical. The owner of a bakery is not going to care what the CVEE score and number is of a vulnerability. But they're going to care if there's something out there that could impact their business's operations. Sometimes I like to follow a model of like progressive disclosure with people, where I'll start off very basically explaining something. If someone comes to me wanting to know more, that's when I delve into detail. But I want to make sure there's interest first. It's like, I forgot what movie it was. Maybe it was Starship Troopers or Back to the Future 2. There was a prompt. It's like, do you want to know more? And you'd either hit yes or no. That's the way I treat things. Hey, there's vulnerability. I know that you're running this particular line of business system, and we got to address it. If you say yes, great, we're going to address it with you. If you want to know more, I will sit down with you as long as you want and have that conversation. But I will never hit you with every single detail immediately, because that's the easiest way to get the brain to shut off. That's it.
Yeah, I think that goes back to a little bit of our last session with Alex was talking about the 30-70 rule, where when you're doing sales, you should have at least 30% of the information, but no more than 70%, because then they're going to have decision fatigue with the amount of information that you're putting in front of them.
Exactly. Oh, and hey, if you don't mind, I just wanted to share some of my notes from the session with Alex and Will. I realize my handwriting is atrocious and it might be backwards as well, so I'll just kind of go through it for everyone. And there's value in this. Alex said this himself. Alex is a snarky asshole. B, Long Island is expensive. C, go to Adventureland with Will. So Will, we're going to do that in the summertime. What's this one? Profit. No, that's not as important as be yourself. That's the important one. And then what's this down here? I don't even know. Oh, snowboarding with Alex. We're going to go snowboarding with Alex. Going to go to Adventure Time with Will, and we're going to be ourselves. And that's everything that this presentation was about.
Absolutely.
That was the point in the way that we presented today, not having slides and everything else. It was just a conversation, and we tried to keep it as natural as possible. If you can have something like that take place on social media between yourself and your targets, you're going to do so well. And when you can connect with people in that way, they're going to want you to connect with people that they know and solve their problems as well. And that happens so quickly.
In terms of connection on social media, is it more, do you think it's more valuable to post or more valuable to interact with other people's posts? Let's use LinkedIn as an example. That's a pretty common one for MSPs. Is it more valuable for them to be consistently posting or be consistently engaging?
There's no reason you can't have both. It's like the hard shell versus soft shell taco meme. Why not both?
Yeah, exactly.
But that also comes into what we were talking about, pacing yourself a little bit. Like if you're going to be posting something from your company every single day, there's a good chance you're not going to want to interact with people quite as much. You're going to have other things you need to get done. Maybe interact with people Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday and Thursday have posts of your own. Make sure that the people that you're interacting with aren't necessarily just peers, but people that are in the target industries that you're looking at. Get involved in, not community organizations, but small business organizations in your area that have online presences. Jump in. Be the subject matter expert to those people. And the best way to get in there is through comments. Give helpful little bits and pieces of information. Empathize with people. If there is like a major security situation that goes on and there's a business owner in your area that's venting, tell them you know what it's like. You've been there before. Let them ask some questions. Maybe give them a little bit of help. The entire business community that's in that particular area or group is going to see that as well. That can work gangbusters. Plus, you're actually genuinely helping someone in the process, which is nice.
Absolutely. I guess tying it into the last session a little bit, one area that I think every company probably struggles with a little bit is how much should you prioritize attribution to leads and sales to the activities you're doing on social media? Because attribution tracking is tough. That's just the nature of business, no matter what industry you're in. There are many touch points, and it's hard to always keep track of exactly where somebody came from. Should MSPs, I would say, evaluate their social media depending on the amount of leads or business that it is generating, or should it completely separate those buckets? And where's this like a middle ground that they might be able to live in?
I think they've got better time. They've got better things to put their time into. I think you look at social media and just pay attention to metrics around engagement. Look at your site. If you have a site, look at your lead conversions on that. Maybe figure out how many of those visits are coming from social media. But don't go further than that. Don't stress yourself out with those metrics. Like I said in the video, and yeah, I get it. Maybe this isn't very aligned with business, but have fun with it. When people see you having fun with what you love doing, they're going to come to you. And that's when things are going to work out. But if you put numbers against attribution, figuring out where people are coming from for every single interaction within the realm of an MSP and what we do, it's not going to work well. If you're doing retail, if you're selling t-shirts, yeah, sure, it's so much easier. You're selling a service that's, as much as we like to say standard offerings, is a bit bespoke from one client to the next. All of your conversations are going to be a little bit different. Not everything's going to land the same way. Selling a t-shirt, well, you got to worry about sizes, small to extra, extra large or something like that, and that's it. It's very easy to track. This is different. Worry about engagement. Worry about how people are interacting with you on social media, and make sure that the presence that you have is positive and productive. And worry about attribution in other areas of marketing.
Absolutely. What do you think about the medium that people choose to use? Like whether that's text, whether that's like visual images or video. If I'm an MSP and I'm looking to, okay, this all sounds great if I want to start tomorrow, is text okay at this point? Are we so far beyond text being valuable that they just need to jump in and, like you said, grab your phone, a selfie video from your desk and get a video out? Or what would you recommend when it comes to the medium that people decide how to mobilize their social media content?
Well, I think right now visual mediums are always going to win over just written, because of how we don't have attention spans. Sorry, there was a light turned on to the left of me and it just got my attention. So ultimately, I'd say do whatever you're most comfortable in, but try to add some visuals in. You don't have to be on camera the entire time. Maybe you accompany a short message with a photograph of people in your office working very diligently. Maybe it's a piece of technology that you're talking about. That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, work within the medium that's going to enable you to actually publish content. If you're going to sit here and your the Windows update, like if you're going to get like that, oh, you couldn't see the camera. That was probably a little bit weird. If you that's going to be awkward. That's not going to help you. But if you can sit here and write a paragraph and a half on the importance of a particular service or something that you offer, and you can put that out there confidently and maybe slap an image next to it, you've won. You look good. You've controlled the way that you're communicating with your audience. You're not coming off nervous. And I think that's a great starting point. I think that we have to have confidence before doing things like getting on camera. You should have seen me 15 years ago falling over a couch on CNN. Yeah, at a Hanover Square. I looked like a complete weirdo, and I still do, but at least I've become more comfortable with it. So do whatever you think is going to make you feel the best. And as you start getting responses, think about what those people responding to you might want to see next. Are they going to want to continue seeing a paragraph, a few sentences, whatever it is, from me every few days on social media? Are they going to want to see my face a little bit now that they've started to understand who I am and what I'm about? And I think that once you start having those thoughts, once you start seeing that engagement, the idea becomes a lot less painful to people. Understanding that people want to see you in a room makes it a lot easier for you to show up to the room.
Absolutely. And in terms of the content that MSPs are producing, how much of it, where's the split between talking about the services you provide and what you do as an MSP, and then just providing education and value to the space? Because I think that's a tough line, especially for business owners, because you're taking your time to put into this activity, and hopefully it turns into business down the road. But how much of that effort needs to go towards, is it like, okay, half the time you can talk about your business, or the other half the time just provide value? Is it more or less than that?
Have you ever seen a website or a platform that has that little powered by on it?
Yes.
That's the way I like to look at things. I like to talk about the impact of a solution, the efficacy, share a story that demonstrates efficacy, and then just mention, you know what? We happen to offer the services that allow these things to happen for you as well. I think that's, you put the benefits before the credit for who's doing the work. You leave yourself at the end. Maybe it's like an 80-20 split. That's actually not bad. Yeah, 80% is the outcome, the benefit, the thing that's going to make your client smile. And the 20% is the, hey, I got this. Remember, call me. And that's it. If you go too much further than that, the ego thing does set in. And I've actually been contracted by a couple of MSPs to cool down the social media when things went too far, with the CEO kind of going Elon Musk-like at times. I think that's an easy way to put it without being too verbose. And it can be dangerous. That could be a very, very dangerous thing. Like I mentioned in the video, I kind of went a little far with the toxins and bacteria and stuff like that. But I have seen MSPs lose clients overnight over saying the wrong thing twice in the time that I've been working in this space. And that always came from, we're the best, we're amazing, and not, this is the kind of work we can bring to you.
Right. That makes sense. We just had a question come in, and it was, who should be in charge of social at an MSP? Who should be running that?
Ooh, that's a good question, because I think it depends on the size of the MSP. I think smaller MSPs, in my experience, tend to have one of the owners be in charge of social media. And if an owner is comfortable with social media and it's something that they can take on without, maybe harming a different arm of the business, I think that's okay. But I think that finding someone who loves social media, who is going to work with it no matter what, is someone that would be a good person in a smaller MSP. As you get to a larger size, I don't know, maybe like 2 mil up, maybe. I'm a little bit removed from MSPs working with Tom, so that might not be the best number. But I think at that point, you should have someone in marketing that's capable of handling social media, without doubt. Is that person going to be someone that's doing all the content planning and all the ins and outs? Maybe not. But at that point, you should definitely have someone that's dedicated to posting and fielding questions. I've seen a couple of MSPs, and I don't think this is the greatest idea, but it seems to have worked for them. If you have, say, like a service manager that has some time in their day, they're exposed to the problems that your clients are having. That's an amazing point of idea generation. And I've seen a few that have been very much into social media, and that's worked out. So I don't really have a direct answer for that. I mean, I think there are multiple criteria, especially the size of the MSP and availability of resources. But you're almost always going to find someone who is going to want to do it. And you know what? If they're interested and they're not ready, a little bit of training can go a very long way.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it does come down to the size and getting to that point where you do feel comfortable handing that off, or whether or not you need to handle that yourself as the owner. On that topic, for the MSPs that are starting to scale and grow, and they have a set of employees and a social media manager and stuff, how important is it to have employees that aren't on the social media team involved in social media for your MSP? So how do you get more of your employees excited to be active on social media? We have Will Brooks jumping in here, who's the meme goat right now on LinkedIn.
He's the media goat, and we're gonna make plans to go to Adventureland, right, Will?
Dude, I haven't been to Adventureland since 4th grade.
Dude, I haven't been since middle school graduation. We got to get on the wave dance.
Oh, let's do it.
I'm sorry, Jamie, that just had to happen.
Hey, it's okay.
So the question was related to scaling. Could you please ask that again, please?
Yeah, no. The question is just how do you get your employees excited, like, to also interact on these platforms outside of just the people who are running social media?
That is such a great question, because that is one that could lead to a lot of backfires. Get people excited to become engaged with the company's social media. Do what you can to maybe source ideas from them. If you have someone on your service team that goes, well, we've got this problem that keeps recurring with clients. We have a simple answer. What if we put the solution on social media and see what happens? Great. Give me 2 paragraphs on that. Let's turn it into a post. Or I'm going to post it, but I'd love to hear your added opinion on there. Give them reason to engage that is not going to be incentivizing them from a business perspective, because that doesn't work. And don't force them either, because that's not going to work terribly well either. This is not something that's compulsory. You show me a company that says you have to engage our social media X times a day, and I'll show you a company that just doesn't belong open. This is something that's optional, but make it fun enough that they want to be a part of it. Valiant, the MSP that I work for, they've been doing a lot of social media lately, and it's cool to see the CIO, service team members, the CFO, the president jumping in and giving their own points of view on a post. And that's because they enjoy the work, they enjoy sharing opinions, and they love it when someone from a small business turns around and goes, thanks, that really was helpful. Not just the post, but the insight you gave afterwards. And if that's something you'd like to see for your MSP, and your MSP staff want to see things grow too, think about it a little bit. I think it's worth it, but never, ever make it compulsory.
Awesome. Well, we have 1 minute left. Matt, do you have any closing thoughts before we go to our next break, before our last MSP Power Hour of the day?
I keep saying it, and maybe it's not the most helpful on the business side, but just make it fun. Every experience I've had with social media, from say like 2008 or 2009, working in magazines, to now working in the MSP space, every success story, every time we've had some kind of win of business from social media, it's from having fun with it. Find ways to enjoy it, because that's going to come through and people are going to see it.
Can I ask a question before we run out of time here?
Yeah.
Mr. Brooks. Yes.
Matt, how do you make social media not cringy?
Cringe is my specialty.
I know. That's why I'm asking you, because you know what it looks like.
Oh God. Hey, you guys ever seen an Athlon 5350 processor? No? Okay. How do you make it not cringy? I think that when I see social media and I cringe, it's because someone is pointing the blame at something as opposed to explaining why something went wrong, or talking about themselves. Those are the 2 things that I see as cringe. Those are the 2 things that sometimes people turn around to me and say, did I make a mistake with this post? And if one of those 2 things are present, the answer is always yes. And I think you take those 2, and if you can remove them, you're going to reduce the cringe risk will have been mitigated.
I got a third one. Don't copy and paste from ChatGPT. It is so obvious. And then sometimes people throw little emojis in there. You can even ask ChatGPT to throw emojis in there for you. It's so, like, dude, don't get me wrong. ChatGPT can give you some great information. Repurpose it into your own voice. Like, that's the key.
No, that's
you. Be authentic.
Yeah, just as I think that Tom says it in the video as well. I've gotten to the point, and this is kind of out of left field for here, but I'm sure a lot of other people probably watch Adult Swim at night, maybe working or whatever it is. There's a commercial for like Viagra, and they're using an AI-based voice. It sounds like Ice-T the rapper.
Nice.
And it's like, you hear this and you just go, that's such nonsense. I don't care about the commercial, but hearing this really is cringe. And it's no different from using the ChatGPT written voice in a social media post, except it's Ice-T, which kind of makes it funny. But yeah, that's a perfect third rule there. Get rid of ChatGPT and give Henry Tim access to an API.
I want Henry Tim to actually give ChatGPT that prompt and see what happens. I wonder if it breaks the AI, because my brain is very difficult to understand.
I don't think ChatGPT can do the Long Island accent properly, Will.
Neither can I, because my mom's from Ohio.
Alrighty. Well,
I mean, I can do it properly. I just don't have it naturally.
Can I get a bacon, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup?
That I will take always, every day.
Boom.
There it is.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes,
Right.
we are at the top of
See
the
you in
hour
30
of
seconds.
this session, and we will see you guys in the break before our last session of the day. Thanks, y'all.